Hello my dear friends, hope all are doing good, and I am here with the next video in the series of renewable energy system. We are discussing about solar energy. In that, in the last video we discussed about CSP. The CSP has four different methods. So in that, the famous one and the most commonly used one is parabolic through system. So in this video, we are going to see how this parabolic through system works and how it converts the solar irradiance into useful electrical energy. Let us go into the topic. So as I discussed in the previous video, we have the four different type of CSP technology: parabolic through, linear Fresnel, and parabolic dish, as well as central receiver method. So as I told you, we are going to discuss this parabolic through system in this video. So let us see what is this parabolic through system is all about. So this parabolic through system has the parabolic reflectors or focusing mirror, and we have a heat transfer fluid which is passing through the pipe, which is placed on the reflector in such a way that the heat which is reflected from the reflector or the focusing mirror falls exactly on this tube, and the tube observes the heat, and uh, and because of that the heat is also transferred to the fluid, heat transfer fluid, and the temperature in this heat transfer fluid rise almost up to 400 degrees Celsius, and this heat energy is used to produce high pressure steam, and using the high pressure steam we can propel the turbine, and the turbine is coupled with the electrical generator, and the electrical generator produces the electricity. And when we have the excess amount of heat which is produced in this CSP or the reflector method, that can be stored in the heat storage system. In the heat storage system, we have the molten salts. So where this molten salt absorbs the heat from this heat transfer fluid, and it stores the energy in that reservoirs. So when there is no sunlight available, that time we can release the heat which we stored in the the molten salt, so that the steam can be produced even during the night time or when there is no light available. So this parabolic through system gives the flexibility that whenever we need to meet a peak load or a peak demand, we can utilize this stored heat energy to produce the electricity as we required. We need not to depend upon the solar irradiance of that particular day. Even uh, we are not having that much good light on that particular moment, but the stored energy can be released to produce the electricity. Okay, so this is the advantage of this parabolic through system. Let us see in detail how the system works. So this is the pictorial view of this parabolic through system. Basically we have four blocks. We have collector field, storage system, and heat transfer fluid system, and we have power block. So let us see. First we have the collector field, where you have more number of reflectors. So these reflectors are placed in such a way that it collects the maximum amount of solar irradiance, and it reflects over the tube which carries the heat transfer fluid. And mostly these reflectors are connected with tracking method, so that it tracks the solar light and or the solar the sun, so that it can take the maximum solar radiance throughout the day from morning to evening. So when the sunlight is available, these reflectors are going to absorb the heat energy, and it reflects over the tube which carries the heat transfer fluid, So mostly it will be of oil, okay, the heat transfer fluid. So this heat transfer fluid is going to absorb all this heat energy and it is going to circulate in this orange color line wherever I have shown in this picture. So there are two parts. One, it is going through the heat exchanger here, and in this heat exchanger the heat is exchanged from the heat transfer fluid to the molten salt. So we have two storage tanks. One is cold salt tank and hot salt tank. So this cold salt tank, from here the pump is going to pump this molten salt and it is going through this heat exchanger. Since we have the hot fluid flowing through here, so this hot temperature is going to be absorbed by this cold salt and the temperature of this cold salt is going to rise, and the high temperature molten salt will go to the hot salt tank and the fluid circulates in this path like this. This is one path. The second path is the flow of heat transfer fluid goes through this heat exchanger. So this heat exchanger is the one which is going to produce the steam. So before the water comes to this point, of course we have the preheating places where the water tank feeds the cold water here, and this is the preheating uh, step. These two are the preheating steps, and from after this preheating step the hot water goes to this heat exchanger. So from here the hot water is going to converted into high pressure steam, and this high pressure steam will flow to the turbine here. So the turbine is going to propel or it is going to rotate, which is coupled with the generator. So the generator is also going to rotate along with the turbine and it will produce the electricity. And the return line water will be go through the condenser. So the condenser will cool down the water and again it will go back to the feed water tank. And this is how the water observes the temperature which is available from the collector and through this heat exchanger. So this is the second path available. In case if the collector is not receiving the sunlight, so the radiance is not available, so we can't able to produce the heat here. So that time whatever the stored energy, the stored heat energy here in the molten salt tank, from here this molten salt will be passed through this heat exchanger. So now again this fluid, heat transfer fluid, is passing through the heat exchanger. So now the heat transfer fluid is going to absorb the heat energy from this molten salt. In the previous case it was giving the heat energy to the molten salt. Now it is going to absorb the heat energy from the molten salt. So the temperature of this liquid is going to rise from because of the molten salt which is available at high temperature. Now again the same process, the high temperature uh, fluid is passing through and it is going to vaporize the water here. So we produce high pressure steam and the procedure or the process remains same. So this is about the parabolic through system. This is how the parabolic through system works to observe the solar irradiance and store it in the double storage molten salt place, as well as it has a heat transfer fluid which absorbs this heat and produce directly the electricity. So when the sunlight is available, the heat transfer fluid is directly passed through the heat exchanger where the water is converted into steam. In other case, when the sunlight is not available or the solar irradiance is not available, the energy which is stored in the hot salt tank, which is going to be used to produce the temperature in the heat transfer fluid, and this temperature is going to used to produce the steam, high pressure steam, and using the high pressure steam, we are going to produce the electricity in the generator part. So this is about the parabolic through system. So we have other three methods as well, as I shown here. We have linear Fresnel reflector and also central receiver, parabolic dish. So these three methods I will explain in the forthcoming videos. So hope it is clear for you how the parabolic through system works. And if you have any doubts, please let me know in the chat box. Until then, it's me, Rajababu. Bye bye. Take care. Thank you.